The Elves in Frieren are known to have extraordinary talent, but are also quietly going extinct. A lot of that is due to the Demon King's order to massacre the Elves around a millennium prior to the start of the main story. These days, Elves are so rare that they can go centuries without seeing another of their kind, which is why it shouldn't be a surprise that we've only seen 5 named Elves in their entire story so far. Frieren herself counts as one of those 5 Elves that we've seen, and I don't think I have to explain her too much considering she is the main character of the series. We know that her village was one of the ones raided by the demons, and that Frieren was the only survivor after managing to defeat Basalt the Throne, who was a general in the Demon King's army. She was rescued by Flamma, and then became her student, learning how to conceal her mana to deceive and slaughter demons. Frieren remained Flamma's student until she passed away, and used the flowerbed spell at her grave. Like her master, that spell was also Frieren's favorite spell, and the same spell she showed a young Amel when she found him lost in the woods. Ultimately, that spell will lead to Amel recruiting Frieren to his hero party when he got older. Together, they journeyed to End to defeat the Demon King, a quest that took about 10 years, which didn't seem like much to Frieren at the time. It was only over 50 years later, at Amel's funeral, where Frieren began to regret not getting to learn more about Amel. This inspired Frieren to learn and understand humans more as she continued her journey. About another 20 years passed before she met Hyter and Fern, which is pretty much where the main story starts. Her main goal now in the present is to reach Aurelie, also known as Heaven, where one can meet the souls of the dead. Flamma had journeyed to Aurelie during her lifetime and documented the encounter in her notes for Frieren, believing her student would have a desire to learn more about humans. In terms of battle power, Frieren is widely regarded to be one of the strongest and most feared mages. Over a long lifetime, she's only lost 11 times to mages with less mana than her, 4 times to demons, including Qual and Mocked, once to an unknown elf, and then surprisingly, her most losses were to humans. However, Frieren has also made it clear warriors can take her down too, as we've seen Frieren demonstrate how even Stark can take down Fern and her at close range. Frieren's refined mana concealment and unparalleled mana output also made her an excellent demon slayer, and she is stated to have killed the most demons in history. That earned her the title of Frieren the Slayer. In the current era, Frieren is also considered to be the last great mage. Well, there's only like 2 now, considering one died recently, that being Minas the Witch, who was a great mage of the Empire. 20 years before the Foundation Festival arc, Minas was accused of high treason by the Empire for bringing endless war to the southern lands before being killed by a nameless warrior from a small, remote region. Minas did have a holy emblem, which seems to be an indication of great mage status. The one who supposedly killed Minas was a Shadow Warrior commander, who calls himself Lo. However, there is some doubt that Lo actually killed the great mage, as rumor has it, the fight was a draw, and Minas might still be roaming around somewhere. With that said, Minas still hasn't been seen since then, meaning one of the great mages have disappeared from the world. Hopefully we get some more info on Minas through Lo's backstory or something, but that's all we have on her for now. Moving on, we have the great mage, Serie, who's also the founder of the Continental Mage Association. She's a great mage from the mythical era, meaning she's been around so long that even demons have forgotten to fear her. Even Frieren herself can't visualize beating Serie, who also was the one who trained Flamma on a whim. However, Serie seemed to act like she didn't care about her students, like cutting out Flamma's will or calling her favorite spell pointless. Yet, interestingly enough, Serie only took center stage in the world just over 50 years before the first class mage exam arc. The way it's worded is like Serie just suddenly decided to form the Continental Mage Association to reign over humanity's mages. Almost like after centuries of contemplating, Serie finally decided to take up Flamma's request to take over training the Imperial mages established in the Empire. However, Serie took up training mages in her own way by seeking out accomplished mages from the war against the Demon King and offering any spell to anyone who can become a first-class mage, using a spell to transfer a spell. Serie is essentially a living grimoire, and is the mage stated to be closest to the goddess. The only time we've seen Serie in combat was during her skirmish with Mocked, where she appeared extremely confident she could defeat him, especially due to her use of the Curse Reversal spell, which reflected Mock's gold back to him. She's also capable of spatial magic too, using it to prevent Mock's blade from hitting her. Of course, Serie is able to use modern spells as well, such as the defensive barrier she used to block Mock's Zoltrak. Unlike Frieren, who is a peacetime mage, Serie is a wartime mage, always ready to fight. As someone who didn't believe in peace, Flemma didn't believe Serie would go out of her way to defeat the Demon King. Funny enough though, Serie's biggest threat would not be the demons, but the result of Flemma's ideal, in the form of the Empire. The mages Flemma wished for Serie to continue training are now specialized in taking down first-class mages, the Magic Special Forces. Furthermore, there are a group of Shadow Warriors planning to assassinate Serie in the current arc, which I talk about more in detail in this video here. As for the last two elves we know about, there's Milliarde, who actually seemed like one of the few elves Frieren was cool with. She also explained to us why elves spend their entire lives in pursuit of something. It's so they don't end up like her. Someone who never seems to do anything, according to Frieren, and spends most of her time spacing out. Unfortunately, the thing she spent her entire life pursuing was actually completely worthless to her in the end. It might be that she was in search for the finest spirit, Boshaft, but that's not completely clear. What we do know is that it's a drink used during the coronation ceremony of an emperor, and it tastes absolutely horrible. In order to kill some time, Milliarde carved in an inscription in the beer region that described Boshaft as the finest spirit, and put up a barrier over it. For Milliarde, this was just a troll and killed time, but it ended up becoming known as the finest spirit in the world, leading many to want to find it. One poor soul, the dwarf Fass, literally dedicated his entire life to finding Boshaft, only to realize it tastes horrible. At the very least, while the outcome was disappointing, everyone still had fun drinking it for the first time. Still, it's kinda funny how Milliarde, being so bored, created the idea that Boshaft was the best spirit in the world for generations to come. Unlike Boshaft though, and the rest of the surviving elves, it seems Kraft has been forgotten completely by most of history. Frieren's party encounter Kraft in the Northern Lands and stay with them for a few months until winter passes over. When they first meet, Kraft mentions that it's been 300 years since he last saw an elf, and I thought they had gone extinct. Although, considering Serie is known as the head of the Mage Association, it is strange she didn't know of her at least. However, he is now a traveling warrior monk, so perhaps he hasn't been around modern society much. Plus, Kraft also has no idea who Frieren is, not even knowing that she was from the party of heroes. He does seem to know about Aurelie though, also calling it heaven, and commending Frieren for seemingly having a strong faith. However, before their time together is over, he learns that Frieren has doubts about the goddess, who never showed herself in the history of the world besides mythical times, according to Frieren. What's funny is that Kraft calls Frieren young for saying that, showing how much older Kraft must be. Perhaps even being born around the age of myths too. When Kraft was young, he had doubts too, but now he believes in the goddess from the bottom of his heart. More specifically, Kraft needs her to exist, as everyone who knew of his accomplishments and heroic acts have long died. During the party's brief search for a guerrilla warrior with Sign, they actually found a statue of two ancient heroes that looked eerily similar to Sign and Guerrilla Warrior. Frieren quickly recognizes that the warrior is actually Kraft. The other is an unknown priest, but they served as major inspiration for Guerrilla Warrior's dream of becoming a great hero like Amel, and one who's never forgotten like Kraft was. It is pretty bittersweet how Kraft is hoping that the goddess is real, so she can praise him in heaven after he dies, tell him that he had an amazing life. He thinks it's cruel that nobody will remember the path they walked, but Frieren believes being remembered is just a wish elves have. Kraft agrees and asks about heaven, and then for Frieren to tell him about herself. That way Kraft can praise her if she doesn't believe in the goddess. However, Haita had already asked Frieren a similar thing and praised her in the past. Hearing that, Kraft is happy to know that Frieren has good friends, but it's also sad because Haita is already dead. Well, as Frieren puts it, Haita is in heaven, and so they will meet again. As for Frieren and Kraft, the monk states that they'll probably meet again in a few hundred years, before parting ways with the party. We actually get a brief glimpse of Kraft's physical abilities when we see him casually take down some bandits. Well, Barachi saved them from being slaughtered by Ubel on their way to the mage exams. Kraft notes that Ubel has the eyes of a killer, and have found the corpses of some more bandits nearby. However, he doesn't scold Ubel, because he too is also an adventurer, and won't criticize her for killing in self-defense. All he did was save the lives before him. Then after hearing Ubel is going to the mage exams, Kraft remembers Frieren saying something about that, and looks forward to hearing about her journey the next time they meet. So hopefully that means we'll see the GOAT Kraft once more in the story. Theoretically, Kraft could actually be the greatest hero of all time, but we'll probably never know what heroic deed him and his partner did. One of those stories where no one in the far future will know who they were saved by, and their legendary accomplishments will just become a myth being lost to time. But yeah, do y'all think we'll see more of Kraft or any other elf for that matter? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. I got some more Frieren content here too that you can check out. Peace.